Responding to news that IMF will issue a $450 million loan to Pakistan, which will need to be repaid, international aid agency Oxfam warns that the loan would risk plunging Pakistan into debt that it can ill afford. Oxfam is calling the cancellation of all multilateral and bilateral loans to Pakistan and for debt relief to be given on emergency assistance from the IMF. Money that would be otherwise have been paid on debt service must be used to pay for reconstruction and poverty reduction, for example, through a transparent line in the country's budget, which could be monitored by local civil society. The Pakistan government should also review its own budget allocations to ensure it is investing sufficiently in reconstruction and poverty alleviation. More than 17 million people have now been affected by the floods, with more than 5 million people left homeless after their homes were washed away by the waters. A suicide car bomber hit the central market of a major city in Russia's North Caucasus on Thursday, killing at least 15 and wounding more than 130 people in one of the worst attacks in a volatile region in years, officials say. The attacker detonated his explosives as he drove by the main entrance of the Vladikavkaz market, according to the Emergency Situations Ministry. At least 15 people, including the suicide bomber, were killed and 133 people wounded in the explosion, said Alexander Pogorelli of the Emergency Situations Ministry branch in the southern Russia. He said 87 of the injured were hospitalized, many in grave condition. Russian television stations showed a shrapnel-littered square in front of the market with bloodstains on the pavement and rows of vehicles scattered by the blast. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev sent his regional envoy to Vladikavkaz to help coordinate efforts to help the victims. No one has immediately claimed responsibility for the bombing, which was the deadliest such attack in the region since a double suicide bombing killed 12, mostly police officers, in the province of Dagestan in April. Philippine President Benigo Aquino III said on Thursday he won't apologize anymore for botched hostage rescue that killed 8 tourists from Hong Kong, as investigators indicated that some of the victims may have been hit by police fire. He said he will work on repairing ties with China and Hong Kong and will await for findings of an inquiry committee before taking any action against officials for their part in the August 23rd fiasco. Bullet trajectories and the kind of wounds that hostages inside the hijacked bus had sustained indicated that some of them may have been hit by a friendly fire during the police assault that killed the hostage taker, said Justice Secretary Leela de Lima. Hong Kong officials have criticized the handling of the day-long crisis that began when dismissed police captain Ronaldo Mendoza took the busload of tourists hostage to demand his job back, and ended with 8 of the hostages and Mendoza dead as the drama unfolded live on TV. The 11-hour negotiations with Mendoza came to an abrupt end when he started shooting his captives after watching his brother being handcuffed by police officers for interfering in the negotiations. Kosovo's Deputy Prime Minister said on Thursday that new talks with Serbia will not deal with the country's contested statehood. On Wednesday, Serbia reached a compromise with the EU not to challenge Kosovo's independence at Thursday's General Assembly of the United Nations, but submit a toned-down version of the resolution in exchange for a greater prospect of joining the EU. President Boris Tadic said, however, that the agreement in no way includes recognition of Kosovo's independence. The US and major EU powers are among over 70 countries that have recognized Kosovo's independence. Serbia, supported by Russia and China, maintains it will never accept the split. Serbia has faced pressure from the EU to withdraw a resolution it earlier had prepared for Thursday's UN Assembly, which called Kosovo's unilateral succession unacceptable and demanded more status talks, even after the United Nations highest court ruled that Kosovo's 2008 move was illegal. President Barack Obama says a Florida church's plan to burn dozens of Quran this weekend would be a recruitment bonanza for Al-Qaeda.
Obama said he hoped the pastor Terry Jones understands that the planned burning is a destructive act that may have a dangerous fallout. His comments came amid increasing international condemnation of the planned event on September 11, with the president of Indonesia, Pakistan, voicing their disapproval. Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono wrote a letter to President Barack Obama urging him to stop a Florida church that said it will burn copies of the Quran. Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari expressed grave concern over the threats to burn copies of the Quran. Terry Jones, the head of a small church in Gainesville, Florida, says he will go ahead with plans to burn Quran on Saturday to mark the anniversary of the September 11, 2001 attacks. In his letter to Obama, President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono urged him to ensure that this hideous act is not carried out, said Teuku Faizasyah, a presidential spokesman. Indonesia, which has a population of 230 million and is the world's most populous Muslim state, is worried that burning the Muslim holy book would incite hardline Muslims in Indonesia and around the world. Faizasyah said similar concerns are being echoed in Pakistan, where there has been growing anger at the planned burning. Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari said anyone who thought of such a despicable act must be suffering from a diseased mind and a sickly soul, said spokesman Farhatullah Babar. Zardari said it will inflame sentiments among Muslims throughout the world and cause irreparable damage to interfaith harmony and world peace. Also on Thursday, Pakistan's Interior Minister Rahman Malik called on Interpol, the international police organization, to stop the church from carrying out its plan to burn the Quran. Meanwhile, hardline Indonesian Muslims are threatening retaliation. The Islamic Defenders Front told CNN it will protest the planned burning and will issue a death sentence on Terry Jones if he carries out his plan. There is also increasing opposition to the planned event in the US amid increased warnings that doing so could endanger US troops and Americans worldwide. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton condemned the planned burning.